morning and welcome once again to Daybreak Africa from our studio in Ondo State, the sunshine state of the nation. It's a beautiful morning. Happy Easter Monday to everyone that is watching us today. My name still remains Yonda Joshua Adeji.
Happy Easter. I am Angela Taku. Thank you for joining us on Daybreak Africa this morning.
Alright, welcome back to the show. Just joined us to Daybreak Africa, and yes, it's time to go straight to our discussions for today. Today we're looking at the insecurities in Nigeria, addressing every farmer-elder clashes that we are experiencing, the communal killings, banditry, and the likes associated with the peculiarities of Nigeria's insecurities, as well as some of the government moves being made over time. And today, joining us from Abuja Online once again is a friend of the house, an economist, and also a media researcher, content creator, in the person of Prince Alex. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you so much, Joshua. How are you doing?
Very fine. Angela is here too.
Angela, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you,
Alex.
Prince Alex.
But then, Alex, I think you are more in the north central, so you are in Abuja, but then close to your borders are insecurity issues happening, especially when we talk about Plateau State, Benue State, and the likes. And today we're just looking at the insecurity issues in this country. What's your take on this consistent, incessant communal killings, farmer-elder clashes that we're experiencing, especially in the north central?
I'm just going to start by saying, I know we've had it this bad before, but I don't think there's a progress from what we were used to in terms of insecurity. Now we've had successive change in government from the likes of Jonathan down to Buhari. Now we have Tinubu in power. And can we be sincere with ourselves? Joshua, there is no form of, let's say, concise dealings in terms of insecurity in Nigeria. Now, there is no, in fact, do you know, it was then, it used to be within the north and the north central.
Yeah.
Now, to tell you how insecurity has traveled, it's now more prevalent even in the southwest and southeast. So this is to tell you that we were thinking that we have progressed. However, we were just retrogressing, and we are still retrogressing, because to me, insecurity is more like politics. It's more like a business currently in Nigeria, such that we have leaders who are supposed to understand that their major responsibility is to protect lives and property. But we have them in positions of power that, and they cannot do anything. I'm going to take Ondo, for instance.
Okay.
I will consistently say that the entire Ondo state is currently missing the former governor, may he so rest in peace, Governor Akeredolu. Yes. He never joked with anything that has to do with civil unrest or maybe any form of insecurity in the state. Just recently, we discovered, I read in the news that some group of individuals took 4 farmers that were killed by supposedly Fulani headsmen, took them to the state house. So that is to tell you that, now the question will always be, what is the governor doing? What is he saying? I've lived in Ondo, and I've known Ondo to be one of the safest regions in Nigeria.
Most secure.
Or safest state. Yes, more secure. But of course, I cannot say that any longer. I can't say that any longer. So, and we always, just within 14 days, Joshua, within 14 days, the killings that happened in Plateau was over 100 plus. Within that 14 days, 2 states recorded 114 dead bodies. 2 states, Plateau and Benue. Within 14 days. And do you know the anointing in this situation of Plateau?
Yeah.
The first case happened, they recorded over 60 bodies. And after recording over 60 bodies, we saw our military men, the police and everybody drove themselves to Plateau. And the whole social media blew up. We're going to deal with them. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Less than 5 days after making that statement, another killing happened that claimed over 50 lives. Now, are you telling me that the securities that came, that said we are going to fetch them out, we are going to do this, did they go back? Did they come back to Abuja or what? Because how is it that it happened under their nose?
They couldn't do anything.
Exactly. Until today, they are still saying the IG of police coming out to say we will surprise them. Who are you surprising? And I was seeing a news yesterday that was saying that 390 Boko Haram were reintegrated into the society. Why? $390 that they've gone through rehabilitation and blah, 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 and they are reintegrated into the society. I don't know why. Do you think to repent is that easy? Not when you've seen the lucrativeness in that business. Let me use that word. Because you kill for money, you've been paid handsomely to perpetrate evil acts. Do you think that the banditry we are all talking about today and the whole issue with Fulani, whatever, you think it's just a group of people that decided to start this thing? Of course not, Joshua. These are people that discover that, okay, the space that we are no longer getting as much revenue as possible. So let's get into another thing that will give us more fun. Then the whole kidnapping skyrocketed.
Because of how lucrative it is.
Imagine the governor of Benue State telling somebody, Peter Obi, not to come to his state, that he's not responsible for the security of any person. A governor is saying this. And that is to tell you how politics is now playing in when it comes to the level of insecurity.
But
somebody has to be impeached already. Your state is suffering. Just a few days ago, we saw Fulani headsmen with full regalia, armors and everything, taking over a community in Benue State. And that's them. I don't even want to cut.
Well,
let me know
sorry to cut you, Joshua, before you ask the next question.
That governor is now opening his mouth to say he's not responsible for the security of somebody that is coming to pay homage and give aid to those that need it the most. Funny enough, this man is a pastor.
All right, Alex, can you hear me?
I wonder the kind of God that called him.
Alex, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. My next question is going towards the direction. You earlier stated that this has been prevalent over time in our society, but yet again, I think it's getting worse. The way the whole thing is playing out and it's extending to various other regions. However, I'd like to know from your own standpoint, what can we actually hold responsible for this? You earlier made mention of politics. Could that be part of the, issues raising some of these insecurities we see around?
Who should we hold responsible? Can we be sincere? Power is
not exactly who we are going to hold responsible, but actually what causes, what can we say is responsible for the spike in insecurity? Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So I said, who should be held responsible?
Not exactly who should be. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. I'm not asking who exactly is to be held responsible. I'm asking what are some of those things we could hold, factors actually, that we could hold responsible for the spike in the rate of insecurity in Nigeria?
Now, let's see this. While I'm going to point fingers, right? I'm going to point fingers to who should be held responsible. I'm also going to pick out factors that we will see as a contributing factor to the level of insecurity in Nigeria. You will discover that your higher class, that is in terms of your political leaders, none of these individuals, okay, let me say, just a 1% of these individuals have been, let's say, seriously brutalized by the current spate of insecurity that is plaguing our country. In fact, from the era of Jonathan down to this current era, we cannot really point out to 10 governors that have been attacked by this current level of insecurity. By maybe Boko Haram or all that. I know we've seen governors, right? Now, we have also not seen. So it simply means that the level of insecurity is targeted towards the poor and the average Nigerian. It's not even targeted towards the political class. So, yeah, that is to tell you that if we look at it holistically, you will discover that then funding is coming from the higher class because the lower class cannot fund. Because let's say now first, there is no just cause why these guys are doing what they are doing. Now, we will say that, okay, for instance, we can point to the Boko Haram that they say no to Western education, right?
At the beginning.
That is their ideology. Yes, that is their ideology for the kind of mission they started, which we know it's all foolish. But away from that, the current state of insecurity, we don't even know what is happening. We don't know if these people are a group of people. We don't know if they are individuals. We don't even know what they are after, and we don't even know what. We don't have any idea. We don't have any idea based on their own ideologies that they are working toward. So it simply means that literally this is a business. Because how are they getting the weapons? Can we date back in time? That just few weeks ago, I read an article from the former governor of Kaduna State, Governor Nasir El-Rufai. Governor Nasir El-Rufai, yes, who said that he does not believe in the repentant terrorists. That he believes you should go and repent where God is. So in essence, he was saying that you should just give instant judgment. You don't have to wait. So, and while I understand what he said, Joshua, I hope you didn't forget that there was a time back in 2019, 2020 when I was doing my research and I was literally looking at what was happening in Kaduna State. And if you observe, what I was literally working on was Governor El-Rufai's profile.
Yeah, truthfully.
And how he went from one meeting to another, bragging and boasting that he was paying terrorists to stop killing the people of southern Kaduna.
Whereas he was the one that made the same statement that you're talking about, that he doesn't believe in the repentant terrorists.
Suddenly he has gained his voice to tell us that he did not believe in the repentance. If you did not believe in the repentance, why didn't you use the full armor that was made available to go after these people? Why pay them?
Now, I want to ask a question, Alex. I want to ask a question, actually. Sorry to actually cut you. Because I was saying this to someone recently. I think we still discussed this last week on Daybreak Africa with another guest entirely. And we were talking about the fact that many of the times, it seems the only person trying to do something about insecurities is the federal government, not the state governors, not even local government chairmen. Recently, if you observe, there was a meeting, a recent meeting in Abuja, I think that was in January or so, where one of the local government chairman was hailing the current minister of the FCT and saying things like, thank God the minister of the FCT is here because they can't afford to, buy police cars and all that. That since the minister of the FCT is here, he is going to help them to get all those things and all. And the minister of the FCT, retorted back to the person and said, when he was a local government chairman himself, he was able to even, equip the police of his community. That's to show that the local government chairman can also take charge of the security of your local government. And if you look at it, Alex, a particular governor was actually saying that the federal government should please help us. We talked about a governor that could not even protect a presidential aspirant coming to even just visit him in the state during this whole period. Whereas, they will say that the governors are the chief security officers of their states. This same Benue state we're talking about, remember that during the governorship of Governor Otom, who was the past governor of Benue State, he collected security votes constantly, but still the state was heavily insecure. Even till today, it's still insecure at the time of his successor. Now, do you think security should only be the responsibility of the federal government? Why is it that the state's governors and the local government chairman have little or nothing to do with this? Look at Erufina, who was paying bandits and co in years past, coming out today to talk about this whole issue of I don't believe in a repentant terrorist. What's your take on this whole responsibility being channeled only to the federal government and not to the state government and the local government?
A quick one. If we look at what's the name now? The situation that surrounds the local government and the state government. Now let's date back in time to what's the current minister of FCT, that's in the person of Nyesom Wike, when he was the chairman, right? At least we still have our local government functioning appropriately, even if not to its full extent.
Yeah.
Now, when he became the governor, I doubt if there is any state or any local government that was functioning as a stable government, not that is necessarily not relying on the state governor. And that didn't even happen.
Sure.
Because at a point, state chairmanship in local government is now by appointment, not necessarily vote. Now, we know the kind of fight that has been going on recently in trying to make local government autonomous.
Yeah.
Now, let's now deviate from that and look at the central power, the federal might. They have access to all the security power startups. They are the only one that can order the police and the soldiers. They have everything in their custody. So what do you expect the state governor to do? If I'm saying that I need security in my state and the federal government is not sending security in my state to maintain peace and order. So there's just a lot we need to look at. Now, I don't want to suggest maybe state policing and all that. Vigilantes would have worked. But are the vigilantes even encouraged enough to do their duties? What is Amotekun doing currently? It's looking like the whole fuel of Amotekun was the late governor, Rotimi Akeredolu. The fuel of Amotekun is down. Nothing is actually pushing them. No drive to even go out. Then we will see Amotekun moving around and trying to investigate, to make sure that societies are safe. But of course, we cannot say that any longer. So, what I'm saying is, regions came together and decided a security system that will work for them.
For themselves.
But are those security systems functioning, or is just politics? So there's just a lot we need to look at, Joshua. There's just a lot. The security system in Nigeria is completely out. I don't even know the right words to describe it right now. But can I be sincere? Nobody currently in Nigeria sleeps with his two eyes closed, except maybe your politician, because they have 10 soldiers and 20 police around them. So this country is that unsafe currently, and it's going to affect us in every economic
decisions we make.
Every economic. So yes, that's what we try to even venture into. As beautiful, lovely, and sound Plateau is, I would not want to invest in that state because of the state of insecurity in that state. And it's spreading across southwest, going down to southeast, and we are all quiet. Kogi State was recently hit, and we saw women coming out almost half naked to protest. Nobody heard their voices. Nothing was done. What's the name? Enugu and all of them, they all came out to protest. Imo State, They all came out to protest. The women cried. Nothing was done. The governor of Plateau State recently, that was yesterday, came out to say to launch an investigation to the poisoning of some cows. And I said, okay, let's assume cows are important. But how many investigations have you launched to the killing of over 100 citizens?
Within your state?
In your state. How many? So the lives of cows are not more important than
the life of
that's
citizens.
to tell you where our priority lies. Our priority does not even lie with the people. And with what I'm saying, Joshua, if we are not careful, when the people stand up, it becomes a revolution. You can't stop it. It will be a force to reckon with it.
But let me ask this, Alex. At the heart of many of these clashes, especially peculiarly, if you look at Plateau State, if you look at Benue State, especially Benue State, and slightly Kogi, you will discover that at the heart of many of these issues is this issue of the farmer-herder clash at all time, where, like you talked about the poisoning of cows now, you also see lots of armed herdsmen, killing as many people as possible. Now, this has become an issue for, let's say, throughout President Muhammad Buhari's tenure. It was a very huge issue. Now in Tinubu's tenure, we are seeing it, still manifesting itself one way or the other and being at the heart of many clashes that we're experiencing.
It's huge issue too in Tinubu's tenure.
Very huge issue. Now, don't
people
you think
are dying.
It's high time we begin to nip this in the bud?
See, Joshua, a leader once said that once a security system in a country is over 24 to 48 hours, it simply means there is a political interest in it. As simple as that. We have the manpower to deal with these criminals. We have the ammunitions. We have all it takes to track them down and deal with them. Can we be sincere, Joshua? Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you.
Can you hear me?
Very well.
Okay. Can we be sincere with ourselves that it takes the DSS and the police less than 48 minutes to track you when you say something evil against the government? They will come to your house, pick you up, and detain you. Less than 48 hours to do that. The software and everything is available
to do all that.
But we have the Fulani headsmen, that is the armed ones, flashing their cash and their weapons on TikTok and showing us the people they have captured and everything. All this on TikTok. Yet they have not been tracked. They have not. See, it's politics. Let's conclude. It's politics. Because if I have to say Tinubu is a terrible president and it takes less than 48 hours to come and capture me in my house and arrest me because of that statement, and we have somebody who consistently posts on TikTok showing those he captured, showing weapons, showing money, and that person has not been trapped, tries to tell you where our priority lies. This is pure politics. And let's ask ourselves, the Fulani headsmen that we are talking about, a whole lot of them are not educated. So how were they able to purchase weapons?
All right. So this is where we'll be going off for Go Start, a program on Daybreak Africa designed to, tutor you on one or two business ideas you could, adopt wherever you find yourself. Go enjoy and get enlightened by that segment, and then we'll be back to continue with the discussion of the day. So just stay tuned. Right back.
Well, welcome back to the show. Just joined us, it's still Daybreak Africa, and yes, I hope you're enjoying Good Start. I hope you learned one or two things, and I hope you are going to do something about what you learned. Yeah, we know that this period in Nigeria, economically, we are not at the best position yet, but then everybody thrives at times like this. So whatever you learn on Good Start, please try as much as possible to make use of it. It's going to help you. It's going to grow you in business. But then let's go back to our discussions. We've been discussing about insecurities in Nigeria, and we've been addressing some of the very important issues around it, talking about the farmer-header clashes, the communal killings, the banditry, and all that. And Alex has been joining us from Abuja online, and we've been discussing exclusively on this. Then Alex, you were saying something before we went on a short break. You talked about the fact that this is becoming extremely political because the police can pick you up if you see anything discriminatory towards the government as soon as possible. Within 48 minutes, 48 hours, they will get you. But then bandits are just roaming out there, armed men are roaming out there, but still they have not been gotten yet, meaning the fact that we have the capacity to do this, but we are not actually doing it. And I would have loved to point fingers, but why do you think that in Nigeria we place politics above actual efficiency in government?
We will talk about greed, right? But even before I dive into that, why we place politics above efficiency, we will talk about greed. We will talk about a whole lot of things. But Joshua, I want you to sincerely, wholeheartedly listen or judge from a perspective.
Okay.
We discovered that the governor of Zamfara State, the current governor, Dauda Lawal, came out to say that in 2023 that his predecessor was literally aiding Boko Haram, sponsoring terrorism in Zamfara State. Now, this didn't just go that way, but we have. I would have just said, okay, maybe this is a political witch hunt, right?
Yeah.
Maybe something, yeah. So, but do you remember that the celebrity bandit who is on the run currently that killed over 12 people to celebrate Salah? What's that his name again? I forgot it.
Taji.
Now, Taji came out to say that they should ask this man that was accused. Yes, Bello said that he should be questioned, that he was aiding and funding terrorism in the state, that he armed them and forgot to disarm them when he was leaving power. And that is what is causing the level of insecurity. So somebody else is coming out to confirm what the governor has said. But guess what? The man is now our Minister of Defense. Nobody is saying anything about it. Not an investigation has been launched. He never stepped down from power to be investigated. That's to tell you the kind of insane country we are living in, where the lives of 200 million Nigerians is resting on the shoulder of a man that has been accused to be aiding terrorism. We want to call it an allegation, but
such allegation should have been tried.
Do your investigation. Do your investigation. But there was no investigation. Nothing. Now, you will now tell me that it's not politics. It is not politics.
It already screams a lot of political involvement.
That is why I'm saying that we have come into a system in our country where we no longer value the essence of life. We are in Nigeria where you cannot defend yourself, because if you do, and if you do, which is constitutional, you will go to prison for that, and you might even be sentenced to death by hanging.
Despite it being self-defense.
Yes. A particular man in the person of Sunday Jackson in Adamawa State was attacked by a Fulani herdsman in his farm. He overpowered the Fulani herdsman and in the process killed the Fulani herdsman. He was taken to court, and that was in 2020, was tried and was sentenced to death by hanging. And the case was taken over to the Federal High Court. I mean, it was in the State High Court now.
State High Court.
The State High Court upholds the Magistrate Court. Magistrate Court's judgment. So this will tell you that even self-defense right now, we are not still safe. We are not still safe. So it now give us that question and that reason. What kind of country are we living in? What kind? Insecurity is now a business. The lives of cows is now more important than the lives of humans. I remember a few years ago when it was debated in the Senate, and a particular senator, a woman, forgotten her name, that was debating the life of a cow and that of a human. That is what was happening in the Ninth Senate.
More like an ideology crisis from a perspective.
See, again, your question is why do we place
politics above efficiency?
Competence, efficiency, politics above efficiency and competence. Let's get this straight, right? We have gullible Nigerians. We have Nigerians who, in turn, does not understand what it means to have a system that works. And that is why an average Nigerian that have the opportunity to travel out of Nigeria doesn't want to come back. That system is working for them, and coming back is now quite difficult. We've had issues in different places. We've had gullible Nigerians who, in a situation where you discovered the competence of this leader, instead of looking at how to elect proper leadership, start building referendums, start coming up in groups, stop fighting individually. But they will never do that. They rather stay on social media to lament. And I've said this over and over again. In a situation or in a country where there's a crime and you're not reporting to the federal police or the state police or whichever police that is, or whichever security parastatal that is made available to you, but very dark man is your very point of call. You should know that that country is in a state of is a state where I cannot even mention. Because an average Nigerian now sees very dark man as the police they can report to and get justice.
Maybe because he speaks loud and he puts many people at work at the same time. So definitely.
Is that supposed to be the job of an individual?
As truth.
Am I supposed to report a case that is to a fellow citizen who has as much power as I have, or I should report to the police, the authority?
But let me ask this, Alex, as we progress gradually. Let's talk a bit about Nigeria's security architecture, actually. We know vividly well that though some regions like the Southwest have their own outfits, like the Amotekun, that takes care of the security in the Southwest, even though currently probably lack of funding, lack of prioritizing them particularly, has cost the Southwest a bit of its security serenity that they have enjoyed for the last few years. But now looking at it, let's look at Nigeria's security architecture. Many people have argued the fact that the police are not as efficient as they are supposed to be in tackling insecurities. Hence, the federal government most of the time has to send the military to so many of these regions to ensure that they restore peace and the Nigerian police doesn't have that much efficiency as much as the military. Then many began to suggest, what about communal policing? What about regional policing? What about state policing? I remember earlier you wanted to talk about state policing, but you deviated a bit from that. But do you think we should start putting that in the conversation at this particular time in Nigeria as a more secure way to go about our dealings in this country?
See, Joshua, our problem is not state policing. The regional policing we are talking about, the like of Amotekun and others, that is what we should be looking at.
Why are you against state policing?
Funding is the problem. If you say funding is the problem, and let's quickly analyze how funding is not the problem.
Okay.
During the era of Rotimi Akeredolu, former governor Rotimi Akeredolu, may his soul rest in peace, funding was a major problem because Nigeria was still paying for fuel subsidies in trillions of naira. So federal allocation was small, but they were able to manage and make sure that these people get access to enough funding such that their functions were outrightly manifested. We could see it.
Sure.
We saw results. We saw how many people are arrested, despite the police couldn't. Now, these guys are now, the state governors are now getting twice the allocation or 3 times the allocation they used to during the era of President Buhari. And somebody is saying that funding is a problem. Please explain funding is a problem. Priorities are just not aligning. That's what I'm saying. Somebody is being bribed somewhere to keep quiet so that an evil can happen and they can get the sympathy of maybe international bodies to get donations and all. These people knows what they are doing. We cannot grow beyond where we are currently if that mindset has not changed. We don't know what we are doing. We have very poor mentality. And the efforts you're saying that is literally coming from the federal government. Have you really seen efforts from the federal government? Because if I'm seeing effort from the federal government, the Minister of Defense currently should be questioned.
Even the Special Advisor on Security?
He should have lost his job. Let's take a look at a few factors here.
Okay.
Yes. Now, we are talking about security system. Let's look at the total number of security system or securities that we have in Nigeria. Now, this is in terms now.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
So, yeah. This is in terms now, the military, police, civil defense, and every other security that you are aware of that exists in Nigeria. The total number of these individuals did not sum up to 1.2 million. As against 230 million. So it simply means that one security personnel is ratio 300 persons. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One security personnel is to protect 300 persons. If we are to place it in ratio 300 to 500 persons. So tell me, how is that possible? Now, I know you are also aware of this, the whole scheme that have been coming out, that the Southeast are not really captured in the recruitment processes.
Yeah.
In the military the military recruitment processes.
They have less people from the southeast.
Yes. Now, again, how do you want them to be captured? We know what is happening in the country daily. You consistently attack these individuals. They don't see Nigeria as somewhere that they don't see Nigeria as a place for business. Okay, we'll thrive here, we'll do our businesses and we'll leave. An average Southeasterner doesn't want to have anything to do with one, Nigerian politics, Nigeria security system, Nigeria whatever. I just want to start my business and gain money, and that's all. So there's just a whole lot going on. You can't consistently talk down a group of people and you expect them to participate wholeheartedly in every form of system that you're coming up with in the country. So President Tinubu needs to be questioned. And again, every time I talk about insecurity, I always refer to his table. He is the only person that is charged with the responsibility of protecting lives and property. If he's failing in that aspect, if he's failing in that jurisdiction, and he cannot deliver in that area, he should wholeheartedly step down for somebody that can deliver. Because there is nothing good in GDP growing by 6% and 20% when you don't have a country to lead. All your whole economic plan and everything, the coastal way and everything, who will drive them? Is it not the citizens of the country? If they are all gone, so who are you going to lead?
No one, actually. Well, that brings me to my final question, Alex. I don't know if are you hearing me?
It's not even what. I can hear you.
Okay, that brings me to my final question before Angela actually gives. Maybe she has a question too as well. But then, if you look at the budget of 2025, even of 2024, security took the highest share. Not just this 2024 and 2025 budget. Even if you look at Nigeria's budget from 2015 till date, let's just see all through the time that the APC had been in government, till date, security has always been majorly the thing that takes the largest share. Let's even shift it back. Even if we look at the final part of President Goodluck Jonathan's regime or tenure, it had a very large share in our budgeting for every year. Security comes number one. And despite all these spendings, we are still having this much insecurity issues. So how, from your own perspective, Alex, what is the way out? What is the way out?
Okay, yeah. You are right when you say defense and security actually takes the highest share in Nigeria's budget. Like in 2025 budget, we discovered, for me, I think security took about 5.87% of the entire budget.
Yeah, true.
Then followed by infrastructure, then education, then health. So yes, there's just a lot to look at. But even at that, are we seeing any form of livelihood, any form of hope that is coming in the security sector? Of course not. Again, I will ask, where are these bandits getting sophisticated weapons from? How are these weapons crossing the borders to the hands of these bandits? Who is supplying them? Who is paying in dollars to acquire these weapons? Because one, they don't have access to dollars. They don't have access to finance. They don't have access to anything. Somebody somewhere is funding. So who is doing that? Again, the way forward will be a complete declaration of state of emergency on insecurity. A declaration of, and if there's no way forward, then allow citizens to start holding ammunition and weapons to defend themselves.
That
Would that be a better choice?
Legalize the use of guns.
Would that be a better choice?
It's a better choice. It's happening in the US. We can do it in Nigeria.
But
if we
we
have-
also see the mass killing in the US actually.
Well, aside the mass killing in the United
When you
States.
say mass killing, Joshua, they don't have as much insecurity problem as we are facing currently.
Exactly, and you keep mentioning the part of corruption and other, politics playing out in cases like this. So if Nigerians are given the opportunity to hold arms, don't you think that that will be a major issue? Because from your words, we live in a ruleless, let's say lawless country.
Yeah.
So if that should happen, don't you think it's going to be much more detrimental?
No, it won't. There are regulations. There are gun regulations that we need to really look at.
Well, having at the back of your
there are-
mind that the judiciary system has been questioned over time, and as well, we make plans, make policies, and regulations are not even put in place, and due regulations are not put in place. So how do we meet up with that?
See, all I'm saying is, whether you consider we have corruption in the judiciary, in politics, in every system, yes, I will agree there are corruption, but there's what we also call enforcement. The federal government have the right to enforce law and order in the country, just as they have done in Rivers State. They have the right to enforce. So there are regulations to this thing. There are firearm act. There are licensing and requirements. So if I want to get ammunition, if I want to get guns to use, I will need to get license. That license, I'll have to go to a psychiatric hospital that will certify me that I'm in my right state of mind to hold weapons. So if I'm getting all these certifications that legalize me to hold, then I can. So if I'm bringing out my guns to defend myself, I'm in my right then. So if I do it unlawfully, I can be jailed because I got the license and I misused it. So there are ways to go about it.
Well, if the government are in a position where they can actually handle this insecurity, as you've earlier stated, then what would be the need of, allowing an ordinary citizen of the country to hold arms in the first place?
Again, what I have said is that our security system in Nigeria cannot handle the current level of insecurity, that is plaguing the country, especially about 18 to 20 states all at a goal.
Because we are short on numbers.
We are short on numbers, and I just said that put all military and paramilitary together, they are not up to 2 million individuals. So it simply means that it is one security man to 300 or 500 persons in Nigeria. So it's not even doable. Right now we have strong concentration of security men in Plateau. We have high concentration in Rivers State. We have high concentration where again, maybe yes, in the central and some other places.
Benue, Bono.
We don't have high concentration of security men in Borno and in Benue. Because if they have high concentration of security men in Benue, what I saw just recently wouldn't have happened.
You'd like to round up now because we don't have much time left.
Yeah, Fulani herdsmen coming up with taking over a community with sophisticated weapons. So all I'm saying is, if the government says they can handle, fine, let's start seeing results. If not, legalize ammunition. Let's start defending ourselves. Don't forget, the the chairman of DSS in the best, I've forgotten his name, just a few weeks ago came out to say that citizens should start defending themselves. This is the man, the DIG of DSS talking. DG of DSS, sorry, talking. That citizens should start defending themselves. So if this man can say that, somebody who is supposed to be protecting life and property, basically means that they are shot by numbers. And he was giving examples of how a group of individuals in a community came together and formed a security alliances to defeat terrorism in their state, in their locality. So it's high time we start looking at that region too, on how individuals and group of individuals can come together and defend themselves.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. It has been a wonderful discourse so far.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a nice day. Well, this is where we'll be ending the discussion for this episode of Daybreak Africa. Thank you once again for staying tuned. And now the program is not over. We'll be going off for sports. After sports, we'll say our goodbyes. So do stay tuned and enjoy. Welcome back from sports. I hope you enjoyed that segment of Daybreak Africa, and I would say that was the second to the last segment on Daybreak Africa. It has been a wonderful discourse so far, talking about insecurity, talking about the hardship felt by the people, talking about how people cannot sleep. Well, it is sad to say that we found ourselves in
such a situation
in Nigeria, and we keep hoping, we keep keeping our fingers crossed, and we keep begging the government to come to, our aid. Because at this point, just as we stated earlier in our introduction, if things are not handled now, things would actually go out of hand.
Yeah, it will escalate beyond what it is actually, and I'm scared. Though I don't really go with what Alex said in the final part where he said, let Nigerians defend themselves by having.
Not in support of
truthfully, yes, we can come as a community, but not as if people should hold guns. Because I don't trust the mental. I don't trust it. We just create terrorists out of nowhere. Honestly, not even with this set of youths that are taking drugs on a daily basis. Anyone can just take on this today and the next day they just take up something and shoot whoever they see on the road. So please, I prefer we defend ourselves as a unit, as a team.
Yeah. So
we can have few people within the community that can have access to the guns. Then maybe by rotation we'll make use of it. Maybe protect the community at night and that with the permission of security operatives. So we can have a first aid before
even
they actually
you
come
see
in.
Even with that, I'm not in support of that.
I'm scared of it. I don't trust
be it the community,
be it individuals,
because at some point we know how these things work out.
Do you know what
if you turn back against
do you know what I mean? When I was talking about the issue of the youths within the states that were talking about taking laws into their hands if the government doesn't do anything, a time will come. You know, Nigerians and this issue of generalization, they will think anybody that looks northern or maybe southern or what looks like the enemy is the enemy.
Yeah.
Do you know why communal killings is more consistent? Especially if you look at a state like Plateau and a state like Benue, and communal killings too are also involved in all these insecurities happening there. And if you look at the heart of communal killings, it's just hatred for a particular community to another community, what they term ethnocentrism and all of that. Before you know what is happening, because I have access to guns, they don't have access to guns, boom, they take guns out and they shoot. I remember growing up in the hood in Lagos and all that, streets to streets, issues to apples, and before you know what happens, because of this ones have access to guns, that one have access to cutlass, they come out and fight each other. So I think to a very large extent, with the proper coordination, in fact I don't even want it to even get to that level.
Let's not get to that level. Alex earlier stated something, that we have the capacity to handle this insecurity.
Very true.
If we spend so much, if a large portion of the budget is given to the security
and
body,
defense, yeah.
Why should we be having all these issues? I think the government should just have a roundtable discussion, sit and have a critical thinking and come up with strategies that will be able to tackle all this.
If you ask someone like me, I would think enough of the money spent on insecurities and security. I think the problem is more structural than
structural, yes, then, but I think we'll still be needing that part of the project.
We need that part, but
because
I think
we talk about advancement as well.
First is structural, because look at issues of the southeast. who many of their boys don't want to be a part of the military and all that. And look at one of the points Alex noted. We don't have up to 2.5 million personnel in security in Nigeria for a country that has over 200 million people. The fact that we have 200 million people, our security architecture is supposed to be at least 25 million people should be involved in security. So that at the end of the day, if we have up to 25 million, imagine now if over one person is to protect 10 people. It's more logical than one person to protect 300 people. Out of this one person protecting 300 people, many of them are protecting the wealthy, like 10, 15 of them. Now imagine how many people remains to even protect the general country. Yeah. So we need to really look at this thing. Structurally, we need to make discussions. As a country, we need to make discussions. Socially, we need to make discussions. Then make the right, if we have the right structure and the right architecture, I think even if we are to put all our budget on security, we will see results. This one result is not really showing like we really expect. And we just hope that things change as soon as possible. But then that's what we can take on Daybreak Africa today. It's time to say our goodbyes. We'll meet tomorrow, same time, same place. I want to advise you, enjoy your day, enjoy today. And yes, my name still remains Ikhonede Joshua Adeji.
And I'm Angela Taku. Enjoy the rest of the day.